Welcome everyone to today's LinkedIn Live. It's a special live as we talk about Coaching Unlimited, a one of a kind coaching intensive to enable coaches to become commercially successful as they chase mastery in coaching competencies. I welcome our mentors for today. I thank you, Mr. John, Mr. PK, and Mr. Subash for agreeing to be present here. John and Mr. Subash has got back today after a long trip, and I appreciate that you could make some time to be with us today. I'm sure you don't need much introduction, but I'll still introduce quickly. John is a mental coach. He is one of the core facilitators with Invite Change as well. The Bangalore chapter members know him for his deep dive on coaching competencies, as well as carbon coaching conversations, where we walk in the midst of nature and have few stretches, few interactive sessions, and even a deep dive on competencies. Thank you, John, for joining us today. We have with us PK. PK is a CEO coach and has been a CEO coach for over a decade, 11 years to be precise. He helps CEOs to become the best that they can be by enhancing their presence. Thank you, PK, for being with us today.
My pleasure.
We have with us Mr. Subash, who is an executive coach and the founder of Regan Unlimited. He helps leaders to become their best versions by achieving true potential. Thank you, mentors, for being with us today. Over to you as we discuss what Coaching Unlimited is. PK, I would invite you to share your thoughts about the origin of Coaching Unlimited.
Sure. Thank you, Anirudh, and glad to be here today. See, this was my personal story that happened around 2021. 9 years into coaching almost, and after 3 years of my credential, PCC, I got it in 2016. And, as a coach, I've been working continuously, and I was feeling a bit straying away from core competencies. When we really work on the field, and many things that we learn as part of the coaching competencies, which are broadly theoretical at that point in time, except for a few practice sessions. Then when you are in the field for 6 years, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever number of years, that's what was happening to me. And I was sharing that with my mentor, Subash. And I've been, discussing about the need to create something for coaches to come and refresh their skills, their core coaching competencies. And this is something that I felt very deeply, kind of sharpening the saw in that sense, the need for sharpening the saw. And there were no much opportunities available. I mean, though oddly here and there some CC related CCU webinars and seminars happen, but nothing that is, as a whole, wholesome one. And that was kind of seeding the thoughts for having a program such as Coaching Unlimited. And we were debating and trying to structure it over the 2021, the whole year of 2021. And then towards the end, we also thought we need to have some business aspect into it, because as coaches we consider coaching as our key skill area, and we become the best in the trade. But business of coaching is very different. There are another set of things that play to make a coach commercially successful. So we thought it might be a combined offering that could benefit practicing coaches like me. And that is how the seeds were sown for a program like Coaching Unlimited. Very organic way, and we searched through. There were no parallels that was available at that point in time. Not sure now, but definitely not in 2021, 22. And we had the first Coaching Unlimited in 2022 in February in a hill station called 𝗖𝗨𝗍𝗪 between Chennai and Bengaluru. So that's kind of the background that I could remember, and I could cherish.
Thank you, PK, for taking us down the memory lane and how Coaching Unlimited has evolved so much. So, Mr. Subash, the question for you is that you and PK ran the program initially, and then John has come with all the knowledge and expertise. How has Coaching Unlimited evolved over the editions? You are not audible.
Yeah, thank you. I was saying I'm happy to be back home, and also to connect virtually with all fellow coaches, because Coaching Unlimited is for fellow coaches like us. So as PK said, picking up the thread, uh, Yelagiri was a great experience. Actually, very immersive. A lot of time spent in nature. A lot of time spent exploring the nuances of the competencies, and also the business side of coaching, the branding side of coaching. A lot of long walks. We all are passionate walkers, so we had some great time. That's how the first thing happened. Then we had subsequent editions in Chennai, in Bangalore, in Jaipur, and every edition had its own flavor. The city, the location. Like we thought in Bangalore we'll plan some outdoor activities that was completely washed out because of torrential rains. But that itself was an experience to gel together, spend a lot more time at a beautiful resort in the outskirts of Bangalore. So Jaipur was a very different experience. My first trip, we added some trip to the forts after that, apart from the walking around the lake and discussing business of coaching. So a lot of local flavors get added to each of the location, and we are happy to be back home. As all of us are based out of Bangalore, this edition is coming back to Bangalore, and we are also trying out a non-residential version this time after all the previous five residential editions. So we are also constantly experimenting. Why I'm bringing this up is, apart from different locations, different variants incorporated, we're also allowing it to evolve. And every edition we have had participants coming from Sri Lanka, Dubai, and elsewhere. So we have had some international flavor, apart from coaches from India, with a lot of international exposure, including three of us. So I would say, to summarize, it is evolving in a very organic way, a beautiful way. And I also agree with PK. I don't think there is anything like this, definitely in this part of the world or even beyond. So to that extent, we take pride in doing something very pioneering for the benefit of coaches, and we intend to take it forward as it evolve organically. But yeah.
Thank you for that. Uh, John, so as you have also played an important role in improving the experience of Coaching Unlimited and its offering. So, what about Coaching Unlimited drives you as a mentor coach?
Yeah, so I was actually in the first edition as a participant in Yelagiri, and I'd gone to work on myself, and then subsequently Subash and PK invited me in. I think in the third edition, if I'm not mistaken, after Chennai. And for me, this is my happy space, right? Mentoring coaches is something that I love to do. I do that at ICF Bangalore chapter. And even in the work that I do, this is work that gives me a lot of pleasure and happiness. It also is an opportunity for me to continue to work on myself in terms of the coaching competencies, the coaching markers, and also to see how coaches can continue to grow. Because one of the things I've realized is that like some learnings that we have, or some professions that we have in life, we require to constantly keep as PK mentioned, of sharpening the saw. And this is one saw that we need to keep sharpening for the benefit of our clients. And the deeper we get, the more easier it gets, but it continues to evolve. And so therefore it's important for us to continue to work on ourselves, work with the wisdom of other coaches, because there's a lot of collective wisdom in group thinking, group reflections, and group dynamics. So that's what makes this possible for us.
Thank you, John, for sharing your thoughts. And yes, we do acknowledge that you love mentoring coaches and you are fantastic at it. So, one thing that we see, dear mentors, is that, dear viewers, meanwhile, if you have any questions, please do feel free to key them in. As and when relevant, I shall project them and ask our mentors to share their thoughts. And dear viewers, one point to note is that credentialing is the start, because many are not sure what to do post credentialing. So if you are confused what to do post credentialing, Coaching Unlimited is a fantastic place to start. So, dear coaches, we see that gig economy is something that is contributing significantly to the American economy. And economists do say that India follows the same pattern, but just 5, 6 years later. So, the contribution to coaches towards the gig economy is growing at a healthy rate. So, PK, what do you think is the status of coaching business globally?
See, that's an interesting question because still professional coaching, especially in India, is in nascent stage. And there are no authentic numbers or industry data, therefore. And if you do a Google search on coaching size of the market, etc., it throws up numbers including that of Alan, Akash, and Baiju, and all those people together. So, and countless individual coaches who are not professional coaches affiliated to ICF or EMCC or anything, but who are teaching and coaching students and people of multiple skills. As you said, the market is big in the West. There are some information available on the size of the market in the US and Europe and all that, but might not be of much significance to us here. But what is happening significantly over the last 3-4 years in particular is that a lot of platforms, coaching platforms have come up in the West. So what they are doing is to source coaches from the East, including India, and providing coaching service to Europeans and people in the Europe and in the US, Canada at a much economical space, much economical rate. So like any other outsourcing, even coaching is getting outsourced in that sense, we can say. So the platforms use good coaches from East and then fulfilling the requirements in the West and in the Europe. That I think is a trend that can continue for some time. How is that benefiting the economies like India? Probably it is a low-hanging fruit for a coach qualifying in India who is getting credentialed in India, because platforms are connecting them to the market quickly. And the opportunity for professionals, therefore, is to be on the platform if they choose to be. And there is also a huge opportunity for owning a coaching business independent of the platforms. So who can create and nurture the market for themselves? On the demand side, it looks like it is enormous. I think we have not even scratched the surface in terms of coaching as a business. Awareness is still pretty low, and except for some companies and some individuals who have read about it or heard about it, vast majority of India is still very, very unaware of coaching as a solution. So this remains largely untapped. The awareness is still very low, though it is better than 10, 11 years, 12 years when we entered the scene. It is improving, but I think the demand is enormous, untapped demand. And then number of coaches also is increasing, which is a good thing, because when the demand comes, supply also needs to be there. That makes it important, Anirudh, for a coach to choose their area and to choose their arena quite well, so that today we have an opportunity to position ourselves and play to our potential. and become a significant force to consider in that area. So positioning is very important for coaches who are going it alone, and that is very different from getting the business from the platform. So it helps in marketing. Having our own positioning helps marketing, sales, conversion, which is also an equal part of becoming commercially successful. Being a coach is one thing, being a good coach is still another thing, and becoming commercially successful is an entirely a different thing. So well-meaning, genuine coaches might at times find a lot of headwind when they get into coaching as a business. So therefore, my reading of the market is that if you play your cards well, and if you position yourself well and polish your skills well and be a master in your trade, I think our country offers huge opportunity in the next 5-10 years.
Thank you, PK. The mention of various coaching platforms as a metric was very interesting. I'd never thought of it that way. That's a great metric to see how the business has grown. A very logical statistic. John, this is so PK brought in the logical side of it, right? Bring in his inimicable style, he brought in the data points. You travel a lot as well, to quite a few foreign countries. What feel do you get about the coaching business as you travel?
Yeah, so I think what I'm seeing is that there is a lot of awareness even outside of India. I think a lot of people are getting certified, and ICF seems to be the preferred credential that people are aspiring to, primarily because it is recognized, the process is rigorous, and there is a brand recognition to the International Coaching Federation. So we definitely see that happening, because there is things like the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, but I see less of that, and I see a pronounced shift towards ICF, and even corporates. When I look at corporates both in India and outside, I think the preference is really about having an ICF credentialed coach. So there's definitely a lot of awareness. There's definitely a lot of training schools that have come up. There's definitely requirements that are being catered to by these ICF coaches around the world. Most definitely, yeah.
Thank you for that. The pivot also of corporates towards ICF is a brilliant point. We see, especially now that the chapters are also focusing on corporate connect, and ICF Global is also trying to reach out to corporates and educate them. Mr. Subash, now you have been in this space like our mentors, other mentors, for all over a decade now. You would have seen how coaching industry has grown in India. And as a company, we had also conducted an exercise surveying both ICF and non-ICF coaches. So how do you feel BK very well brought out both Indian aspects as well as globally, but with a focus on the Indian market, how has coaching grown in the last decade?
So one definite shift I have observed is there is, as John rightly pointed, there is demand specifically for ICF coaches. That is something I think there is increased awareness, acceptability, and comfort of an ICF credential coach on the HR and L&D community, especially. So they are looking at the basic credentials of ICF as a minimum requirement. So that is one shift I have seen. Another thing, in addition to what John and PK said, we are running corporate programs for introducing coaching as a leadership skill. So that is something that is gaining a lot of acceptance, and we are very happy that more people are getting exposed to what is pure and ICF kind of coaching, not the mixed bag of various methodologies that was promoted as coaching earlier. So that is one thing that's definitely gathering a lot of momentum. Third, I see there are a lot more people aspiring to become a coach, give back. Giving back is something people who are successful in the corporate giving back comes very strongly, and coaching is seen as one of the things now, apart from mentoring, guiding startups, or even investing in startups and things like that. So this also is seen as one of the better ways to give back. And my personal theory is this, on a lighter note, this is the best retirement plan that we can have. I feel we get better as we age if we stay grounded, if we maintain that learning orientation. And we all are holding mirrors for each other continuously, helping us, challenging each other between three of us. That helps us to stay grounded to a great extent. Apart from our mentees, some of them are on the call, and partners who are on the call. So, you know, you can keep continuing doing this. So you're touching lives professionally for a fee. At the same time, you're learning and growing. How can it get better than anything better than that? To that extent, it's a great space to be. Somewhere maybe midway through the career, and that I see that as something among the professionals.
Though you mentioned as a great retirement plan, but the three of you are some of the most active coaches I know. I think John starts his coaching conversation very early when
we are retired active coaches.
I think retirement is a yeah. Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, in fact, I was talking to somebody in the last 3 days, and we were discussing about how politicians, after they get old, they continue to live long. I mean, you have exceptions like Sitaram Yechury, who passed at the age of 72, but most politicians live long lives. And so we were wondering what made that happen. And it's just that they are so occupied with people and learning and all of that they just don't die. So in addition to what Subash said, I think this retirement plan can actually help you live longer, if that's your desire.
I mean, I was about to say retirement is a misnomer because I think people view retirement in a different, probably the interpretation of the word. I don't know whether you get that kind of retirement with this. This is to stay engaged. I think it is another way of planning retirement. And then, as John said, interestingly, when you are engaged and when you are touching lives, I think there is something that happens to us. I think as a coach, it is service. Coaching is a service, and it is a tremendous service at that. Because people are trying to access training, people are reading, people are listening to videos, audios, and still some of their solutions are not emerging. And still their challenges are not getting properly resolved. And then they come to a coach and like a magic, things happen. And it is therefore a very noble service in that way. Yeah, happy to be there. And yeah, I think we can keep going until we leave. Actually, I agree with that with Subash.
And what I say is that we decide the intensity. It can be very laid back as well. But as all three of you, I think what drives all three of you is that you're able to touch lives. And that's what keeps us going hard at it. So now, one of the facets that we discuss in Coaching Unlimited is chasing mastery in coaching competencies. So, Mr. Subash, the question for you is, many of the coaches are freshly credentialed or due for renewal. I'm just using ICF and nomenclature because a lot of our participants have been from the ICF fraternity. So since many of them think that they already know what ICF competencies are, then why chase mastery in coaching competencies?
Chasing mastery is one of the expressions that we use in Coaching Unlimited. And we are constantly chasing in a very empowering way. This chasing is not a worldly chasing; it's a very spiritual chasing of mastery, and I think that's a lifelong journey. And I always say this on a lighter note when we conduct these sessions in the group. I don't think, all those wonderful mentors who put together the ICF framework, even they know the power of the framework. Because we are still discovering facets of it. So last Wednesday, for an internal call of our coaches, I was talking about listening. Now, listening is something that at the core of the mentoring and training coaches. But I just discovered something new. And it was a aha moment for me, the way I looked at listening from that perspective. So there is no end to mastery. And the day I assume, wrongly that I've achieved mastery in coaching, that is the death of the coach within me. That is for sure. I'm very aware of that. So it's a process of organically evolving, staying grounded again, and continuing to learn and grow. Uh, Coming to the coaches, right? First, we thought this is for established coaches when we launched it, and we are still, I think, aligned with that thought process. But we have had some coaches who are at the early stage of the career, both at Jaipur as well as in Mumbai, and we saw the sheer, depth they bring in, and we celebrate coaching at these events. Since you know all three of us closely, I am the perhaps the serious here, the person here. Otherwise, John brings so much of humor, so much of fun into it. You won't believe, and that is what makes coaching light and playful. Coaching is play. Coaching is meant to be playful. So this is, and all these are interlinked to mastery. The moment we become stiff and serious, I think, and no humor, for example, it's a competency. Humor is an ICF competency. So then, I think we are not tapping into the true potential of coaching. So these are things that we explore together, and it is just not three of us giving gyan. I mean, for those coaches who are listening to this, it's not we are giving gyan. We are discovering together. We are co-creating in the true spirit of coaching. And that's what makes it a fascinating learning process for three of us also, apart from the participants.
John, what would you like to add to whatever has been shared by Mr. Subash so far?
No, I mean I completely concur with Subhash, because when I think about, I got my MCC in 2018, and passing your MCC or getting your MCC credential is still celebrated as a big achievement in coaching. But when I look at my coaching back then and how far I've evolved, I feel that back then I knew nothing. Not that I know too much now. I'm still learning. But the fact of the matter is that we are constantly in a state of learning. And we are learning, we are unlearning, we are relearning, and it's a constant state. I mean, I can draw parallels to a sport that I love, which you probably know, Anirudh, is that I've been playing golf for the last, what, 35 odd years now. And I'm still learning the sport. I love the sport to death. And there are times then I feel like breaking my clubs, but I just keep working at it. And I think the same thing I'm discovering, that in many ways coaching is like that if we assume that we know it, that we have figured it out, or that we can use a model or a structure or a framework to do coaching, that's it. So one is of course the coaching competencies, but side by side is also the evolution of us as coaches, as bringing coaching in everything that we do in life. It is not about divorcing coaching from who we are, and how do we therefore integrate coaching into our humanness, and how do we take the humanness that we have and integrate it into coaching. And that's a lifelong process. It's a process of learning.
Thank you for that, John. And we have a blog written by one of our good friends, Karan. Have you lost your swing? So I think we used to use that in the coaching context a lot, but your golf reminded me of that blog. That very often as coaches also we feel that our swing is good, but we kind of start losing it. So dear viewers, so as we told at the beginning of this session, Coaching Unlimited is constantly evolving. So it used to be a 4 days program, which it still is, but now participants also have the option to attend one part of it based on what interests them. So the coaching mastery on competencies would be on the 14th and 15th November. So now that we have established the importance of having competencies, PK, what are the first steps to a successful coaching business?
See, as I probably touched upon earlier, coaching is one thing, and business of coaching is something else. Are they separate? Probably they are not separate, but it is two sides of the coin. That is the problem, or that is the opportunity. It depends on how we see it. Doing coaching well and chasing mastery in what we do is definitely one aspect that that somebody needs to be working on to establish a successful business of coaching. But the other aspect of establishing the successful coaching business is to look at the visible parts of our being. See, all as individuals, I am answering this more from a point of setting up our own practice, not the platforms. For the platforms, you just can register yourself and create a good bio there and good few recordings or whatever that the platform requires, depends on which platform you access. That might do the trick. But for establishing our own business of coaching, like any other business, there are two sides to any business. One is that is visible to the market. The other is that is not visible to the market. It is not visible not because they want to cover it, just that it is not visible. Even if you take trouble, all of them are not visible. For example, John talked about being a person, not only just on the coaching session, and how it helps to be a good coach even outside the coaching session. And lifelong learning. How do one see all that? I'm a lifelong learner or not, I know it. But how someone else will ever expect to know that? So there are always invisible things. My A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the qualifications, which are probably 24 letters long, a layman won't have an idea about it. For that, even if you publish it in LinkedIn, doesn't make sense to him or doesn't mean anything to him. So there are visible and invisible parts, but there is a visible part of me to the world. So how am I consciously taking care of that? This is a very important thing that all coaches need to attend to. Every coach needs to look at, like any other business, in my business, what is visible and what is not visible. So the first steps of establishing or becoming a successful coach in terms of business is to address the visible, non-visible part of the business of coaching, and also positioning oneself, therefore, so that we are visible to the coaches or to the coachees or to the prospects when they are searching. Any business needs to be commercially viable. You agree with that or not, Anirudh? Yeah?
Of course.
Even if it's a retirement plan, it needs to be viable, isn't it? So if you are giving back, well and good. There can be a non-profit motive. I am talking about for-profit kind of business, which needs to be established in a manner in which it can sustain. So my encouragement is to make coaches commercially successful, and there are ways and means of doing it. It's not rocket science. It is getting certain basic things right, and very commonsensical approach will work, because there is no much heavy lifting that is needed, because coaching credential is supposed to be quite a heavy lifting. But I think business of coaching requires an orientation, without doubt. Therefore, we can orient ourselves to some certain things that forms the basis of any commercial successful venture and apply that to our coaching business. So this is what I would encourage coaches to do if they want to be commercially successful. And we in Coaching Unlimited, we go at depth for 2 full days on this.
One thing I give viewers also important to add here is that we have a chemistry session demo done by PK. So chemistry session is where the client and the coach see if they're a good fit or not. And very often the coach feels pressurized to sell coaching and sell the coach themselves that they forget that it's a chemistry session. And many participants have noticed that there was a remarkable conversion because of the demo of the chemistry session. So, Mr. Subash, a question for you is, how important are coaching competencies for commercial success?
For me, I'll add a point on the chemistry session. Frankly, I've said this before on our earlier editions of webinars that I have personally benefited from the chemistry sessions that PK handles as part of the CU, because it just helps us remove some blinkers and look at it with a new perspective. And the taste of the pudding is in eating. My conversion rates have dramatically improved over the last couple of years, and of course, you all also help filtering the leads and targeting the right customers, marketing niche again, which is part of the CU. So all that cumulative impact is, we're targeting better, we're doing better chemistry session, the conversions are better. So everything, when you get this right, you save time, you save energy. So it makes a lot of business sense. So that's an integral part. And PK's chemistry session is perhaps the most popular component of CU in the recent editions. Yeah. Now, coming back to a question on competency, absolutely, you can only sell a good product. Yeah. I mean, so ultimately, if you are not a good coach, how much ever marketing you do, it will fall flat. So the starting point for any sales and marketing initiative is that you have to be a good coach. And as you know, we talk about coaching skills and the business side of coaching as two sides of the coin. So I bring in a third element to this as a triangle, golden triangle, where it is coaching skills, the business side, and the deep work. It is integral to both this. Even when you are promoting business or sharpening the skill or upskilling, we don't lose sight of who we are. Ultimately, all the ABCD that PK mentioned only can generate an interest. People sign up based on who we are as coaches. So all these things also matter. Yeah. So it brings all together in a Coaching Unlimited.
Thank you. So the question, sorry,
I just want to add one particular thing to what Subash said. Mastery in coaching is not necessarily a credential level. And you asked a while ago, Coaching Unlimited, how it makes an impact for core competencies itself. Is that core competencies stated in a manner which ICF has done a fantastic job, and there are, of course, markers associated with that, and one of the best possible guidance that we can get as coaches, and which was my prime objective of pestering Subash for a refresher. Having said that, there are a lot of practical application of these core competencies which happens in the field. And what we do practicing sessions with other coach who is informed about ICF methodology is very different from somebody from the market who has no understanding of coaching at all, right? So there are practical nuances that a coach needs to get right so that we give the best experience to the coachee. Being a coach is also giving the best possible experience to the client. And that is very important in terms of core competencies for commercial success. Because when you perfect them, when you are a good coach, as Subash said, you are giving a great experience to the coachee, and the coachee, through word of mouth, he talks about it to few people and lands you some leads. So core competencies help us to be the best coach that we can be, and that is needed for commercial success.
John, your thoughts, because in one of the Regal Lives, you had also mentioned how coaching competencies is mastery is about bringing that beyond the conversation as well. So, what are your thoughts about competencies and commercial success?
Yeah, so like Subash mentioned, you can have a great product and poor marketing, and you will be unsuccessful. Similarly, you can have a bad product and do great marketing. Even then, you will be unsuccessful. So the key is to have both of them together, which means that our competencies and being a better coach in service of our clients has to be preeminent in the work that we do. And then the business of coaching is what supports you to get more client. The fact that you are a better coach also helps you to get, through referrals and other means, also to get clients. And therefore, as you get better at your craft, you will certainly be able to use the benefit of that, and that acts like a marketing pull for you. But when you combine the two together, it can lead to very good success for coaches.
Thank you for that. Now, I have a couple more questions before we have, of course, a few questions in the chat box that I'll project for you to answer. So, since all of you have mentored coaches as well, and John, Mr. Subash, you also train coaches to become ICF coaches. One thing we see very common, PQ had also raised that in the initial days of the discussion for Regal Life, is that many coaches do say that I'm not here for the money, I'm here to touch lives. But very soon we do realize that they do want to make money out of it. So one major challenge that coaches do face is that they're not able to hold the price that they want. So my question for the three of you would be, how can a coach become comfortable charging the rates? PK?
See how we can be comfortable charging our rates. See, there is something called product market fit for any business to succeed. So positioning should consider what is the kind of expectation that you have in terms of your commercial viability. And if you touch a segment which either doesn't have affordability to pay or not the willingness to pay, we will be uncomfortable charging our rates. So it's not with them. To me, it is with us. And we need to be mindful of what we are expecting out of this whole journey, in terms of business. Very rarely, things happen other than by design. It happens. It could be a small percentage of times, but we don't live our life to such accidental or which happens by accident. By and large, we live our life by design as much as possible, and then we open for what the life throws at you. In that sense, if you are doing your homework well, and if you have positioned yourself well, you have chosen a segment that will find you attractive, you have in a way, your visible part supports it. These are some of the considerations that we need to consider. Then our rate that the market is willing to pay depends on three things: the perception, and the perception. Yeah. So how do you create that? So how do you create a perception of value for your services? Coaching is not something that you can touch and feel on day one. They are buying a service, they are buying a product or productized service where they don't have any experience about. And it's not such a common thing that they have experienced it in the past, whether good or bad or ugly story. So we are operating in that environment. We need to be mindful of that. So when you think from a coach's shoe, you will address certain things that needs to be addressed. Therefore, becoming comfortable, we cannot chase comfort here, because comfort is a consequence. So we shouldn't be looking for feeling comfortable charging the rates. That is a consequence. We will never get there. We need to see what is causing that comfort or discomfort, and we need to address that. And one of the common things that we need to get right is that positioning. And after positioning, getting the communication or the perception right. So these are the two major components of getting to a situation where you feel comfortable about charging your rates.
Thank you for that, PK. John, how did you get comfortable charging your current investment ask and staying at that?
Yeah, in fact, today I had to send a quote, and I was debating what to send. And so there was a certain degree of discomfort. And whatever PK said is absolutely true. But it's also about belief in yourself. It's about believing the kind of value that you can bring to that engagement, and to feel. So you need to start feeling comfortable about who you are firstly as a coach, before you can start feeling comfortable charging your rates. Because the moment you feel secure in who you are and the fact that you can be that person who can make a difference, guide somebody, and help them achieve their highest potential, you will not feel discomfort or very little discomfort in charging the rates that you feel that you're capable of charging. So that's the way I look at it. And the other part of the story is that to be able to have the courage to walk away when you feel that the value that you're bringing to the table is not being respected. And that typically happens when companies start either negotiating with you and trying to get you to rock bottom prices, and to have the courage to walk away from that. So I think, and that also goes hand in hand with the way you think about who you are as a coach. And when you are able to healthily respect yourself, just like you would not allow somebody to say something, uh, you know, um, insulting to your face. You don't want companies to insult you by. You should have the self-respect and know when you need to leave. And I remember having done that when companies used to pay, and their expectations were not in keeping with what coaching was. I decided to walk away. And I said, look, I'm not interested in doing work with you. So I've had that courage of conviction that has stood me in good stead. Yeah, maybe it has lost some business for me, but at least I have been able to maintain my self-respect. And that's more important to me.
Yes, that is an important point, knowing when to walk away and having the courage to walk away. Um, so one thing that we also picked up in coach training, Mr. Subash, is that the price that you charge is directly proportional to your willingness to receive. So what advice would you give to budding coaches to become comfortable charging their rates?
I always quote, I think Richard Branson says, if you don't value your time, who else will value? So to that extent, I think it's about appropriately valuing your time. It's also about, one mistake that learner coaches at an early stage make is that they're just looking at their coaching experience, which could be at an initial stage. But they bring in also their entire life experience into who you are, into who they are as a coach. So to that extent, the life experience coupled with the coaching framework enables them to demand a reasonable price. Then there is, I think it's partly cultural. Is it right to charge a premium for this? But then ICF maintaining membership to renewing membership to all the training programs, it is on the higher side. It's not cheap, right? So it's very unfair if you don't maintain the appropriate pricing. Again, I still call it appropriate pricing because that differs from person to person. My advice always to our training coaches is that you don't need to live in poverty and touch lives. Nobody says that. And also, this gives you an opportunity to earn and then touch lives. Nothing stops you from doing that. So there is no need to feel guilty about it. So these are some of the things that comes from our underlying beliefs and self-limiting beliefs and biases. But part of them get addressed during the certification journey. But as you all know, the coaches here, all ICF approved programs for 𝗖cie 𝗶𝗴, bulk of the focus is on the credentialing and coaching and the competencies. So we have very limited bandwidth for looking at anything outside the coaching practice and coaching competencies. So to that extent, I think sometimes we don't give enough importance to it. And last point, coaches just discover coaching. I've gone through it myself. We are fascinated by the power of the process. Then you just get increasingly focused on the practice, ignoring the business side. So as 𝗶𝗵 earlier said, these are two sides of the coin. Unless we start both together, it's very difficult to set up a thriving coaching practice.
Thank you for that. As we
Yes. One aspect to add to this is that the coaching, the price also needs to be discovered. I am 12th year into full-time coaching, and have I reached the optimum or the perfect price? I don't think so. Even today, I am discovering what is the price. I mean, John, it just resonated when John said he was sending a quote today and he was figuring out how much. This happens with each proposal of ours, because this is not something that is available apple to apple, where you can have a benchmark pricing or anything. And if you go with benchmark pricing, you may be comparing apple to orange. This is another very, very important aspect of coaching. If Subash is coaching somebody, I may be coaching somebody, we may charge completely different amounts, because it is not that we need to compare with someone, and there is no benchmark pricing. I am discovering my pricing even today. So if our approach is to get the pricing right, I have not got it still now. I have not got my pricing right. John always tells me that 𝗶𝗵, you are charging less. Even last time in our Coaching Unlimited in Mumbai, he told me, 𝗶𝗵, you are charging less. But yeah, there can be always that feeling. That is okay to live with, so far as you enjoy what you are doing and your bank balances are good.
It's an interesting point, 𝗶𝗵, where you mentioned that John nudges you and says that you are pricing less. In the book Coactive Coaching, the authors say that the coach must believe in the client even when they do not believe in themselves. So it's good to have mentors also believe in us when we are still not charging our right price. A couple of questions. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, I said that's a very valid point. If you can't believe in yourself, how will you believe in your clients, right?
So a question we have. So you all of you are leadership coaches. John, you call yourself a mentor coach. Mr. Subash, you call yourself an executive coach. 𝗶𝗵, you're a CEO coach. So in the journey of mastering coaching, is it good to select a domain such as C-suite or sales or leadership?
It is not good to select. It is a must. It's a must actually to select a domain, according to me. This is not that we can't coach others. It's not that we can't coach everybody. Of course, we can service our ego by saying that I can coach anyone. That is fine. I am not touching that ego. But at the same time, to be commercially successful, we need to be seen as devoted or going deep in one particular category or segment of the society. The entire 140 crore Indians are too much to handle as a coach. So we select a part of that 140 crores and then focusing on them for serving them better, doing coaching. So to answer your question, you have asked a very pertinent question. Is it good to select a domain such as C-suite or sales leadership? It's brilliant, both of them. And I would encourage you to even narrow it down further, saying that sales leadership for information technology companies, sales leadership for BFSI, or sales leadership for something else. That could be even better or a brilliant niche or positioning, so that you can stay devoted to that group. And I always share in my coach in our business development series and so on, we need to become devotee of our segment. So for example, I am a devotee of CEOs, absolutely, and that makes me run my extra mile and extra miles to service them better. A good question, and I wish you you find your niche very soon, and a pretty good one at that.
So Suranjit, it's interesting that I interpret the question differently. I thought to become successful, you have to choose either C-suite or sales or leadership. So to summarize what PK has also mentioned is that what you choose is of course important, but the more narrow, the more focus it is, the better, because you get to position yourself as a subject matter expert. And John also had mentioned in one of our conversations that you can take any business you want, just don't talk about it. Don't say no to business.
Sorry, just to pick on that, Anirudh, not to be seen as a subject matter expert, to be seen as the best service to provide as a coach to that segment. Yeah, we don't need to be domain or subject matter expert. They could come from industries, but if you have chosen a particular segment of society, you know much about them, and you invest your time to understand them better, and you understand their ecosystem better and their life better, etc., etc. You go deep to go higher.
I think there was a slip up in coaching competency 6. I would rather use your words. Being devoted to your customer base is better. So we have one more question, Mr. Subash. Does a commercially viable niche exist?
I think John, PK is better equipped to answer this question. But for me, simple answer is yes. The objective of choosing a niche is to be devoted, to pick up again from PK, and serve at the same time being commercially successful. PK, anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Many. Does something called a commercially very viable niche exist? Many. And many yet to be discovered as well.
So as we are towards the last minute, I open this floor to the three of you. John, I would ask you to answer first, and then PK, I would invite you, and Mr. Subash will end with you. So a lot of what we discussed, right? There's a bias that people are already aware of what coaching competencies are and what business steps are. Then why Coaching Unlimited? John, over to you.
Yeah, I'll answer this question like this. A lot of people know that exercise is good for health. Yet, how many people exercise?
Wow.
And I will pause with that.
Wow, it's amazing, John. Yeah, if I were to answer that, after a few years of coaching on ground, you always have this feeling of a little straying here and there. Even the other day I was reading even the ISS is continuously monitored. ISS meaning International Space Station, continuously monitored, and there are thruster rockets fired to keep it in position, 400, 450 kilometers orbit. So for any and everything in this world, in this physical world, requires maintenance. And probably I understood the CCs in a particular way. It evolves, and it evolves with my practice. And as Subash earlier said, there is a lot of co-creation that happens in the room. So I get to know a lot of inputs that might be relevant for my business and giving a better experience to my clients. It is always in the service of the clients. And common knowledge is nice to have. What is available in common domain is good to have. But to be commercially successful, it takes attention. It takes real attention to the nuances, to the finer points. So a program like Coaching Unlimited is looking at finer points, looking at the nuances, looking at those tweakings that we need to do here and there to get our positioning better and better, to get our core competencies much more marketable and much more effective in the market. Therefore, I think there is a relevance to Coaching Unlimited kind of programs, which is aimed at fine-tuning your core competencies and creating a business framework for you to launch your business.
Mr. Subash?
Yes, totally fantastic experience to spend 4 days in the company of fellow coaches, 15 of us. It cannot be explained in words. This sheer joy of coming together, co-creating, learning, and having some fun. In the process, getting us better in everything that we do, coaching and the business of coaching. I think there's nothing like it. So that itself is a compelling reason to join CU in November. 14 and 15 for coaching competencies, 16 and 17 for the business side of coaching, the branding side of coaching. Back to you, Andrew.
So, dear coaches, we do have a few more questions, but since we're pressed for time, I would request all of you to please do look at the comment section after the live ends. Quickly, in under 30 seconds, John, what do you love about Coaching Unlimited?
I love the energy, the learning, the camaraderie, the bonhomie. The learning continues during tea breaks, lunch breaks, after evening dinner breaks. So it's a joy to be around coaches. Just sheer joy.
PK, what do you love about Coaching Unlimited?
For me, those 4 days with John and Subash on one side, and then the run up, the preparation part up to I enjoy those preparations, and then on the 4 days, there are a lot of things that we do, on the go. And there are contingencies, uncertainties. When we are dealing with coaching, these kinds of things always keep us motivated, inspired. And I love being there in the midst of coaches. And it is a kind of sadhana for me, those 4 days.
Thank you, Mr. Subash.
Apart from what John and PK said, I fully resonate with that. It's share something new we keep discovering about coaching and the business of coaching. And it's a pleasant surprise to discover new things. And that's what I find exciting, over and above what John and PK said.
So what I love about Coaching Unlimited is, one, of course, the venue. We always choose a fantastic venue. Number 2 is the walks that PK conducts. Number 3 is John typically invites one person to sit in the center, and the entire batch coaches that one person, which is, I had the privilege of listening to one recording, and a lot of things shifted for me as I was listening to that recording. And the businessman in me, the icing on the cake, for those who are looking for renewing their credential, this program also offers 38 CCEUs. So thank you, dear coaches.
Which means with 38 CCUs and you do the 3 CCU credit course on ethics, you got what you need for renewing your credential, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that, John. Yes, they just need 3 free credits, and then you have this, then you can renew your credential comfortably. So, dear viewers, we are back to Bengaluru at ITC Welcome Hotel from 14th to 17th November, when we will be having a much better weather. We're of course having a brilliant time right now. We invite all of you. Please do reach out to us in the comment section, and we will talk. Thank you, PK. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. Subash, for taking out the time after a busy weekend. Hope to host you soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you.